Below speak the YouTube value nature system. Is it pausing? Below the YouTube value nature system, there's a fake account pretending to be me. They've been doing this intercity since the Trade Center attack. The same group, interbranch. Foreign, hear me? The same branch, interbranch with Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort Drive is on the southern side of CCSU. The street that leads towards that from my town, top next to the Samuel Dix house. Samuel Dix house, where American history begins. George Washington could leave slavery here with the French general. He had to meet him right before the pausing. Keeps pausing. Right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, George Washington had with the French general in Wethersfield, Connecticut, for Yorktown. That's physical delusions. Take Yorktown and put that first. Physical delusions take Yorktown and put that first. It keeps pausing, so I don't know if you hear me or not. Right. So there's fake news. WFSB and Fox CT also reported and confessed stealing my voice to fake words, fake sequence, fake relationship to strangers. To They're not letting police reports made. They're not letting police reports made. Database solution stacking with more tied to the principal sex offender, but worse than him, still a force best involved with identity theft. Two men with the name Silver recorded and confessed involved with the child crimes, identity thefts. Then they knew me from time behind my back. Try to make illusions that they know me or ever had a conversation with me in a sentence. In other words, I've never had anything to do with either of those Silvers. People recorded and confessed involved with prescription drug crimes, doctors crime roles with kids. The Leahy family also recorded and confessed for all of them. It's causing. Also, a Christine Tardet Badar all fake medical information about me when I was a kid. No, this is with them with crimes with sex offenders on and off campus with interbranch police reported in collusion, forging names, switching names, and abusing girls of each age with connections between the campuses. Wethersfield parents more criminalities reported and confessed associated with town offices and with the next houses next to and on businesses to how the campuses of each age are connected, consciously built, blaming other and other themselves. Real has all that too, and with NAS laws against what everyone could say, even our founders who want us to understand Wethersfield rolls with slavery. That's why and how they are recorded with the child abuse is not told on intercity through time. How we have police forms recorded in collusion with other nations' police forms here, fake sides. Puerto Rico reported and confessed involved with criminal justice training, undercovers, database crime acts and roles with medical corruption, which in the campuses, on and off campuses. The undercovers juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises with unrealized ones, telling the same need to tell the same lies as recorded, finite, active body of value, and progression lies. This is a each age effect human nature, where their motivations were recorded not for sex, but for to hurt kids other than their own, recorded being used criminally their own. This is DCF families also using their own kids in sex circles and stuff like that for crimes, like with Pete with prison leadership roles with a girl who uses the name Mercedes and her husband associated with a printing place next to a body dumping spot, and with others with their roles with KKK fake care against prejudice while they're using KKK crime rules, and with coercing kids of each age to cover up lie progressions of juxtaposed areas, rackets with all kinds of doctors with drugs with their people, criminally with overt drugs too, rackets with policing of the medical with the doctors involved with drugs and stuff like that. They mix it with like real people who are really dying, cancer patients and stuff like that. But they use that for other database solution stacking roles, behavior crime, captivation, like the breaching fronts, fake patriotism natures. The ones who are also uh, KKK themed, juxtaposed Confederate flag, Puerto Rican flag, click, also intercampus. Like a lot of people from my town have criminal roles and uses by CCSU, but as victims per off campus first maintained. So everyone's just being maintained reliant upon what was worse fishing creek, which is what they used as a term to describe how we went from the world wars. But they didn't understand and were measured, invested, blaming others and ourselves. The breaching method that was before our founders were born here, internation entrenched. As black, white aging agencies juxtaposed. Police enforcing a, a value nature system, database relationship, suit and tie, fake counters to it, all through and as the value of the campus marquee is criminally re-engineered in nature demonstrated. In the devil, I'm not a police form, I'm not a criminal, I'm not a priest or anything, but demonstrably they have the religions defended wrong. The Old Testament in English, especially. This is about English was demonstrably revealed by internation sciences, not not by England. And by internation sciences before they were criminally re-engineered to roles that can't defend what they were criminally re-engineered as, and in correlation by and as what it really was, which are taking over the campus martius value, the internation sciences value that to area of the states and nation value nature relationship to that beyond our control internationally. But they're trying to control that internationally, wars is normal from the pathology with NAS infrastructure still stayed. This was with the fact human nature, slavery, stolen voice of our founders, forced infrastructural home styles before cars, tactically denatured suburbs, tactically denatured cities that were designed to be then turned into, per the plan, forced to be turned into 2-family, 3-family homes. To invest, the fact human nature is doing it, only realizing they're doing it for other reasons, but not even realizing that's criminally foreign influence. In other words, having them hide, pretend though the system was free. It was never free. Science never spoke for our needs. So before cars, this was built. It's actually the nature relationship to nature. So they need to record interculturally actors, a minority, consciously exploiting and pretending they care about because they're colorful or whatever. The same areas of Hartford concentrated to cultural semi-care abuse right through that, like Park Street on next to the Hartford Hospital. How many people get? That's all undercover. They're setting those kids up, especially with marijuana. You know, it's a cruel and unjust punishment. But they're also juxtaposing that with as, you know, you can't fix the streets when they're all fake. They're using, that's why they have the Fox CT with positions in with the Los Solitos, with undercovers with them also recorded and confessed involved with crimes and cases through time of other natures, with other natures of other nations' criminal enterprises too, all recorded, juxtaposed also with originally and still uncharged natures of business that can't defend themselves without having free speech prevented to all areas, which it is. Fox CT, also with WFSB recorded and confessed, refusing to fix fake news, using their Facebook page to hide interbranch recorded sex crime acts, roles forced sustaining such sick, and other drug crimes and medical crimes and actors juxtaposed on kids with the principal sex offender since before that for sustained. They arrested me by wire crime roles, by lying after they had already forged police names and stuff like that. I've been trying to report what strangers asked me for help with from interbranch police tied to CCSU and to Trinity College and to other campuses that I didn't even go to with the same actors, with policing and stuff like that. Identity crime thefts. People that were in my high school, but I never had a class with them. Never had anything to do with them. Then people I barely know. All ones like forget about that. But the point is, there's more in ERICKNERR, recorded and confessed, involved with worse sex predators with the kids than in the same campus and other tied campuses with the principal sex offender and with the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court and Christine Tardet and Bedard and another Christine recorded and confessed by the media and by people associated with the sex offender cliques that were already recorded in my area. See, untimely death confessions from their interbranch drug already with sex offenders and with policing of stores and stuff like that, and foreign and domestic doctors there and here with evidence perception crime roles, with evidence perception bodies, formal, non-formal, with Town Line Drive, mobile gas station down the street, across our border. This goes up the street to Samuel Dick's house, recorded, critically tied to the physical delusions they have with Yorktown in the last battle of the Revolutionary War. In relationship to treatments of him, they'll leave out his stolen voice recorded by a database tied. This database tied crime method, which invests people to behavior crimes and needing to blame others for behavior crimes because there were sequence shifts. So there were evidence fabrication crime acts and roles and methods in cases recorded. A Leahy family is recorded and confessed involved with the Silver family and with a Bedard family and with a Mayano family and with others, with the sex offenders campus and with both corners of that street and with the 2 or 3 families with red hair, different. I don't know. One's tied to a felt clothes that a Bob Chase said was tied to a police report he wouldn't let me read. And he's also recorded and confessed tied to identity theft crime or real estate crime rules, with clicks involved with a Detective Dillon recorded and confessed through time by numbers of people involved with the child predators, and also with his recorded and confessed crime rules with Hartford Hospital, with the rest of them, and with one of them tied to the as the tied to the mother of one. Also recorded and confessed and demonstrated a Pierce woman. I don't know if she pretended I had a conversation with her. She made statements like I had been in a conversation with her before that. And there's a Matt Pierce that John Maiano also reported and confessed involved with his roles intimately with like people with from New Britain Superior Court, criminally involved through time. I had to write a complaint when I was a kid through there. That's been a fake relationship to someone in a database. So class placements I had, and John Maiano also he was confessed and reported involved to pretend that he knew me earlier than that because I've been forced to stay back for a speech class, and then one I took the next year with both those teachers recorded and confessed involved with crimes with Detective Dillon, his former uh, partner, and his family, and other police forms down the street on Fairlane Drive, and with the sex offenders and stuff tied to them with that, and with the whole former police dispatcher, and then with Stop and Shop, and then with the policing and stuff, and there were stories of like Lowe's and Home Depot. And also, there were people like with probate courts, judges and their family members, and houses associated with like a house with a Victorian house on Two Road Highway. Number of houses on the street recorded in crime rolls with people associated with regular body dumping spots, like legal ones, where you go, and with two involved a serial killer's body dumping spot, and the house is next to the business next to that, and with one of Billy Grasso that Fianza family confessed and reported tied to their roles with Two Route Highway, it wasn't Angdog Lane. Two Route Highway starts with Berlin Turnpike that leads into the heart of Hartford. There's that the cemetery there where it ends, where J.P. Morgan, who loaned money to the government during Mission Creek, in relationship to our founding course here, with the police still criminally foreign influence too, because there are other nations' fake sides they're here. Roles with psychology reporting criminal, with them needing to hide that with database illusion stacking, and with various natures of courts already having been using those places, like triage place. If they called people to they're recorded not honestly trying to do mental evaluations of people. They're using that to hide their recorded crime rolls with sex offenders and with worse, and with crime acts, predicate acts, attaching people, forging names, crimes rolls with actors who were in the 9/11 context, in the proven sequence shift in the Ninth Circuit right before the Trade Center attack from inside the court. That proven afterwards, because they thought it was late, time stamped again from inside the court. That proven my father had time stamped them on time. That proven then led to a 2006 part of a case, which is a pro se RICO, where the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, was a co-defendant, and with federal criminals also recorded and confessed, a few of them associated direct, and with others indirectly, but directly with crimes with the kids in my classes in intercity, with like evidence reception crime or drug as roles with drugs through that beginning. Other ways too. In other words, these are the like foreign domestic doctor cliques, like Joe DeMauro and Eric Jensen, in a break of the law, confessed and reported right before the crimes reports and with people tied to the Denny Terror. They didn't use her name. But in other words, I recorded time wise and stuff like that. And they made confessions about the roles with Dearborn Drive. And there's a forgot his name, a pension thief from that street had crime roles with kids when they were growing up. But now they're as sex offenders tied cliques into houses in my area and people that I never had conversations with. But they went to my school. And see, they invested people through interbranch fake passions and fake hate against others because they're writing up fake. They're faking things as evidence. They're pretending things are recorded too. A Janito Mend never had a conversation with my life. He was nice faced a couple times I saw him. The only conversation I had with his brother that was verbal was him recorded and confessed, involved with not recorded physically, but recorded him demonstrating right after I handed in my project on the drug dealer who made confessions about his roles with drug dealers on all sides of the high school. As it turned out, without a sequence. See, I handed that in. They didn't ask me questions about that. Instead, they sequence shift, and then they used they had in a class like a year or two after that, a Mike DeMay, also recorded and confessed involved with the coroner of Fox CT involved, also with people who confessed and reported involved child abuses and evidence crime roles and identity theft crime roles, because I never had a conversation with him. John Mallon also reported and confessed involved with the crimes of the courts and the campuses, and his family with the other police families with the community center, and with as his ties to sex offenders cliques with the police and with the courts, and with them with the fake news. They pretended I had a relationship with the doctor. I had no psychologist, no mental diagnosis as a kid. These people used to walk. They direct things where they know when someone's going to be walking at one spot. They even affect it obviously, so someone could say a loaded statement or something like that. You don't even know what it is, so you don't react to it. You don't know who's saying it. It doesn't mean anything. But to them, they're furthering a theater where undercover trained to lie was originally sub rosa entrenched, needed to hide that as means that were making it needed to hide worse. It needed to pretend that together just to defend fake sides, fake patriotism, passions, and fake naive beliefs. In other words, sequence shifts reveal this. I'm asking him to report sequence shifts for a long time, whether it's for parents. There was a sustained abuses of your kids interage, intercampuses connected, consciously knowing their correlation nature, consciously exploiting how we were with other nations here, policing, advanced placement classes, recorded and confessed involved with internation families with the drugs, with crimes with foreign and domestic, sick with courts, recorded criminal with sex offenders in war, child abusers. Juxtaposed natures of crime, because then you fall back to experts recorded with women interbranch and inter doctors recorded fakes, facilitating the worst male predators intercity, connected through time. I've been asking this, I left a recorded path of asking to report what they wouldn't let kids and parents report. They even recorded using doctors and police with a fire station, with a police station to force sustained investigations of things as means to make it just too uncomfortable. Call it allegations. This is where and how their motivations weren't sexual, but that's part of it, because they're leaving the people to only realize counters, the quote experts, as recorded criminals. And see, we don't have anybody who would do that because there's a naive range where if you ask to have the fake news, also the, the court's criminal with the kids and with the, in other words, this is the Dillon family, all these people, these names, they're stacking names and natures of crimes and motivations for people to need to pretend passions, to hate, pretend hate on others as recorded. Like IO family needing to record pretend hate on me because there's a Gold family also recorded and confessed involved with the click with the sex offenders further and with investigate undercover people with abuses of the kids. You pretending, in other words, and roles with a various nature of courts criminal. Bob Chase also reported and confessed tied to a guy who made confessions about him, and he made confessions about his roles with breaking rules, not letting me read a police report with a Phil Flo on it, who pretended behind my back he knew me through time. 2 times he set up illusions pretending to know me. He's tied to my neighbor, who also with the Scalora family, reported and confessed about identity theft crimes, trying to pretend he know me, no define, especially if he's in police form. Because Carla Greco said that he's a CIA. She posted on Facebook. I don't even know who she is. I know of her, confessions of her from a DeMorrow family and others who reported a confessor involved with intercampus crimes in the city. And a Joshua Julian reported and confessed involved with courts with sex offenders using Facebook and using him for that with the principal sex offender as recorded. And they hid the confessions tied to that. And what led me to realize that her untimely deaths with the same sex offender clicks, and one on Trinity College campus. And they used all the confessions tied to that to keep me from dealing with what they did at CCSU and at Trinity College, each year. In conjunction, not letting me make a report, any of it. Through time, they keep stacking things up. Then they say, oh, we know this person. In other words, because they're criminally foreign influence states and areas original. So follow the fake news. So they have to direct the fake news to pretend they had a conversation with me and my family. And they won't put anything in writing. We went to court, they tortured us. They demonstrated that they were aware that they had multiple fake police reports from an officer that we never even met before, who brought one in at the last second, all from different towns. So it doesn't even make sense. In other words, so they consolidate everybody into needs to stay federal crime rolls with federal agencies reported criminally involved and against their own agencies and with other nations' agencies. And this was with, and is not, as New Britain courts and the state judicial branch offices in cases already criminally used through administrations, hiding this from presidents. They hit I think it was Dave Kerr, K-N-E-R-R, tied to, why do you make or shitty rap animations? Are you, Jaja Beats, are you tied to the these police with the fake Facebook pages? And also they're recorded with the sex offender clicks, spreading lies and pretending to know me online. I know them because they're doing that. And I saw from that. I'm asking to report sex crime acts with kids since before they caught the principal sex offender, already recorded with the courts with further interbranch police with further criminal uses of the kids and with ones in my area through time with untimely deaths that brought to my awareness. So I don't know, because they were trying, the same ones with the same language they were using, they were trying to attack my rap and stuff like that. So if you're just kidding, I don't mean to be hard on you, but I need to know because they have a fake YouTube page pretending to be me. Also, and confess tied to them switching names of a. There's a Saudi girl who works at Nordstrom's. Her confessions of girls who are abused by police forms, foreign and domestic, and they share them with drug dealers and convicted federal criminals, like that live in the campus, that live in apartments next to CCSU, etc. But especially with the ones on Covington Street. Now they're hiding the leasing agent's name from me, and they haven't been let me report women and kids that made confessions about their roles with the leasing agent and his son, also with interbranch and foreign cliques like drug cliques and stuff with the area there, and people tied to them made all kinds of confessions and had roles sequence shifting and with evidence perception bodies trying to pretend things are recorded that were not, and directed them to that. So I found out too because I had known about that. Once I saw them lying after they lied and kept switching for a while, I started to look. I let them know that because confessions had been made about that place to me, and they were recorded involved with crimes with kids from my town that I don't even know. The only reason I knew it was because they tried to pretend to record another one time with a Rick Shamfion also recorded and confessed involved with the child predators cliques with drugs and with evidence crimes, acts, and natures, and with the Silver Leahy family. Leahy's a doctor's criminal with overt gangland drugs and with doctor drug crimes, forging name crimes, pretending they had conversations with me about cases that were also recorded in crime rolls with the federal criminals in. And that was as Trade Center crime, pretend conversation with me about the Trade Center attack and forging names with that too. They're also recorded and confessed involved with this KKK theme cliques with crimes with Justin Levinsky's recorded and confessed involved with police involved in the fire departments involved criminally with the rest of the town offices and stuff like that. So they have a fake Facebook page pretending to be me through time, fake YouTube pages, and then so they're with extortion acts because then you can't do business while you're having to beg to report child offense. It's also tied to Paul Manafort treatments, where the courts were involved with crimes with the news, and with the news private police and foreign and domestic agreements being exploited, and that's being maintained. And that was used to facilitate this side's fake side's roles down to the finite, needing to have the same finite active body of value and progressive lies with Al Qaeda, with internation shared police, like with psychology. It's tied to the Saudi Arabia's against this. Psychology is with what they have natures of courts. They have to cover up lie progressions. They have to cover up the very natures of correlation nature. They have to hurt correlation nature. They have to keep fake sides. They direct on Covington Street, recorded and confessed. They direct fake sides into cases where women and men pretend they are real, but also pretend that they have differences because they need them to then just pretend, not to commit perjury. So they're locked into positions, fake sides, against correlation nature. They were told by a judge, they said, they repeated. This is also as a demonstration. They're already involved criminally with the courts, all different kinds of ways, and then with a sexual circle with a Lena's Pizza, Magdalene, and like they all went to her wedding, but it was also recorded and confessed involved with people with CCSU database crimes, identity theft crimes. Some blonde-haired kid that used to be Magdalena's roommate. She had a roommate named Elena too. They were told to spread, make me look bad and stuff like that. She had asked me for money for I gave her $500 for her rent. Then and then like some kind of suit or whatever, a dress thing. She pretended I bought her a nightgown or something like that online. You know what I'm saying? Because these are people now. I can't. They're trying to make me too embarrassed to talk about the child sex offenders, the evidence perception bodies, with on-off CCSU crimes recorded and confessed intercity connected, juxtaposed many people. Also, that was tied to someone calling and threatening to rape her. Then, thank God, it happened when I was right next to her, and we had to go look for it. It was some guy who looked like the guy too, who's a detective Samuda now, and he pretended he had a conversation. He pretended said he used to work. He walked up to us. He handed us this after we already had the police, Intercity, East Hartford, Wethersfield, New Britain, and then him, Hartford, recorded and confessed, and on CCSU, in their families of all those police, recorded and confessed involved with the crime, stacking fake police reports from multiple departments, fake conversations with me to make all kinds of narratives where everyone had to hide it. All I did was go and report recorded rape threats tied to a Joey Quest, also recorded and confessed involved with criminal justice undercovers with crimes and cases, and with databases, with drug crimes, with kids and stuff like that. That are also with doctors with drug crimes with these gangs. And they need to cover the same life progressions. They need to commit the same identity theft crimes, sequence shifts, pretend for other reasons. They don't like people. Pretend they know them. There's one online too. Hello, everybody. Hello, JC. This is about. There's also juxtaposed case, recorded confessed involved with some KKK themed, Confederate flag themed sex offenders and drug cliques with campuses and recording with the kids. Fake news. They direct fake news to steal voice. So then they don't let anyone speak in a court, and they invest the court's actors to federal crime acts, rules crime acts. It's criminal to stack admitted multiple fake police reports from various towns used to prevent recorded rape threats and identity theft crimes tied to people with the campus. See, they have a Gilmore and people with the acting department recorded and confessed involved with crimes with Maria Fazzino and her husband, Stephen Stocco, and with John Mayana, and with other houses on and off Two-Bar Highway and where it goes into Hangdog Lane and associated with the Burlington Turnpike. Also, Fred Grisey and someone who also uses the name Joey Quest recorded and confessed crimes with police forms and judges and stuff like that, families and stuff, and like gangs and undercovers with identity theft crimes and stuff like that, sequence shift, fake passion crime roll, evidence crime roll with a golf course and where JP Morgan is. I don't know those people. I only know them through quick confessions, demonstrations of crime rolls with Fred Grisey. I never saw him the whole time he was in high school, especially not with Joe DeMoro is the one. I never saw him with the Joe DeMoro. Joe DeMoro is the one who confessed to work hard and they told me he was involved, and with his confessions, demonstrates to me crime rolls also with judges' family members and stuff like that, like a Fair family and stuff like that, where they had evidence perception crimes, like where they had with probate judges and stuff like that recorded and confessed involved with crimes with sex offenders, with identity thefts, attaching people to fake conversations, pretending to have mental where you could force people in without charging them for anything, and they use that to hide if they know their complaint is going because they know they're recorded with these natures of crimes. I caught them in. So what they do too is Janito Mendez recorded and confessed with it with it, I never had a conversation, but it's filmed when I went to get a police report that they pretended things were recorded by putting the name of police equipment and putting sequence shit. This was after they already did all kinds of officers switching names into branch. MPO Floyd, other MPs interceding with forging names, sequence shifts, federal crime rules with groups with Trade Center attack predicate acts, since predicate acts like mail crime, also reported and confessed involved to tied to people associated with a Gold family and the name Ayala with the mailbox crimes, and also with uh, a Covington Street. I didn't know he was there the whole time, or after. And my previous neighbor, I didn't know he was associated with the neither. So all those people reported and confessed involved with the Detective Dillon also reported and confessed involved with sex offenders with the police in my area, police forums and their former police dispatcher. So he had a gun on his side and he was through the window non-verbally confirmed rolls with his brother's confessions, which are years ago. Because I don't know, I'm only from these contexts with drug crimes rolls and evidences crime rolls. Also, they're reported involved with crimes with doctors and also confessed by people tied to them, associated with steroids and other kind of confessions about them, where I only know them through others and they only know me through others. But they recorded themselves involved with crimes with sequence shifting and with drug dealing through the police, where they're using that to keep cliques lying and hiding lies together from others that they don't know, but then they want to pretend they know those people. But I don't have anything to do with those people. I have great content. What's your content about? See, I just need to have so now they have fake Facebook page also using language recorded tied to there's a a Saudi woman recorded who's a victim. I don't know if a victim predator or what, but of a Nordstrom is a West Farms Mall, which is down this road from a body dumping spot of a serial killer. Real or made up, that serial killer recorded and confessed involved with doctors and with federal criminals, with the courts, with him, with crimes with him before, with that area, with others with their crimes with that area, like a Eddie and Mercedes. See, what they've been doing is stacking people to motivations to roles to hide. Interbranch police and their family members recorded, maintained need to hide live progressions from criminal foreign influences through fact treatments. Also with Joshua Schumack and his mother recorded and confessed involved with the police with the identity theft crimes and with evidence crime roles and drug crime roles with those cliques and with their Facebook page with the sex offenders. I only know Joshua Schumack from his confessions and demonstrations of roles with crimes with people tied to the Morrow family and with a speaker box where he bought it from, and and his mother and stuff with narratives like that, with a Paul, or what's his name? I forgot, but Mike Pandolf. See, they put people that walk up to you, make you don't know them, you barely know them. They send them to make illusions in the past, and then to pretend that they know you in the future with shifting ways. See, now these are people in the way, in the back, because those are. I'm just saying, because these are excuses in the back of their in their narratives that they can't put online. Because we have the police chief, his family, recorded by his own police and confessed by his own police, involved with the further recorded sex crime acts forced sustained on kids. And this is intercities campuses tied to CCSU, to other campuses. Systems that are manifest because systems are run by human fact treatment nature, not opinion nature. Because the opinion nature is all recorded lies. If you want, I have great content. See, this person says Anthony Wall's Trash is the name of their account. This is one of the many accounts they have fake. Intercampuses tied to police. A Joe DeMoro, a Mike Pandolf, a Mike DeMaine, also recorded and confessed, involved with the Dillon family, and with men and women further recorded and confessed, involved uh, with a community center, with sex offender further. I don't know their names. I know what they look like, and they're recorded involved with a recorded and confessed involved Leahy using his wife for sex crime acts with databases, slandering people with courts, and with himself, them forging names, drug crimes as Dr. Drugs, and their roles with overt gangland drugs, and crimes with investigators and with stuff like that, with narratives with the natures with courts recorded for criminally foreign influence. So we have them also recorded torturing and preventing and threatening, not to mention they're also recorded criminal uses of New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page to sequence shift to force sustained sexual crime roles, identity theft crime roles with a principal sex offender. As is demonstrated right here, they can't take it. They can't take Anthony. Well, how could I be? Why are you pretending to be me with all these different Facebook and YouTube pages with the courts? Use language and confess and recorded. Are others tied to you with sexual abuses of kids? What it's I'm like, so anyways, there was another account that says Ranim Al Mansour's new lover. That's a name distinct from the one who works at the Nordstrom's. And these were people that use language that are tied to the Morrow family, that a Scalora family recorded and confessed, with others involved with drug and sex crime and other kind of crimes with kids, regardless, especially if they're agencies, because they also have trade center context crime predicate act roles with the actors who attach me to fake conversations about the trade center, and as proven sequence shift from inside the Ninth Circuit in the trade center right before the attack, with other ties to the that was with the clique. They have ties to those people too, the federal criminals in that case, but they also had ties to a Claudia Scalora with the context the night before, outside my hotel room, right when I was coming out. So evidence crimes. Then they pretend they tell people to slander other people Like people to call allegations because courts already were pretending recorded things that aren't recorded. Courts are already doing bad things, vaccines. It says Anthony Wong, I'm not you. If why is your name named after me as your account? Are you just real Anthony Wong? Because there was also someone with that name of a woman or pretending to be a lover or whatever like that. That is also involved with courts, involved with various natures of cases criminally through time, and with divorce. 'Cause I am getting a divorce. I mean, I'm divorced, but I still before my wife finds a new home, I want to have her safe from the interstate and worse than interstate connected Weathersfield interbranch sex offenders clicks recorded, proving and further recorded that offenders plural. They'll be making fake living as the same sex offender groups because of how it was the intercampuses. Also, this was recorded and confessed, tied further to Joe DeMar. Do you know what Joe DeMar? You're not a little coward, Joe DeMar, who's listening, because he was also recorded and confessed, involved with the crimes with people associated with Chris Walters in a Kerr family, in the body dumping spots, intercity with the tied actors, like in other words, for the mall and with a Bobby. There are female and male Bobbies that share that name and their roles with confessions, directed or not, that were used criminally about their roles with car dealerships criminally and with overt stealing cars and with that name Bobby and with used criminally. We're also they have the girl with the name Magdalena that tricked us to go to a place on Park Street into a wedding party with a Magdalena, pretending it was another Maggie. That was her roommate. Also tied to another roommate, recorded and confessed, also abused by men and women, but that also use her to abuse other men and women and kids on and off campuses for positions with the campuses. There's a Susan Gilmore. There's a Susan, I think it was a Susan Gilmore. I don't know. They said a guy named Cohen with CCSU, English chairperson, real goofy guy, said that she changed her name. But her husband has a name that was before, or previous one has a name. I don't think it was the same guy. There was also other students and stuff like that confessed drug and evidence crime, identity theft crime roles with Institute of Living tied to CCSU, you know, and like all kinds of relationships to like Mazzucato Bakery is associated with the extended family of the police chief. And his daughter is reported and confessed involved crimes about the retired and standing detectives and the police chief in the past one with the same houses involved with the sex offenders here. Recorded and confessed involved tied to his the past police chief's girlfriend who lived there. Had a doggy door with a crazy dog that tried to kill my sister when she was little. The guy just died who saved her. Or he died on the same day as my father died, April 29th. That's also recorded and confessed involving these people, recorded and confessed with crimes against my father while he was in the hospital as a patient. And against me, multi-front was on off campus with that too. So having the news attach me to fake words and having the court demonstrate also recorded fake medical crime rolls, lying about kids, family members to them, lying about fake medical information, attaching fake medical information to kids, and investing all that left uncharged criminally private. They can't be defended in our Constitution at the same time. Sub rosa, we were left this originally with Connecticut, Wethersfield, by George Washington right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. This with as his own slavery. So we have to counter George Washington's stolen voice. We have to follow mandated law. Yes, you could ask a question, JCT. What is your question? Any of the questions you want. This is serious, though, because this is election crimes, too, also tied to the town offices and their uses of religions and sensibilities in relationship to database of relation stewards, experts that are not capable of being our experts. Is there anything wrong with homosexuality? Black. If you treat black as a type of right, that's exactly what our founders wanted. If you treat that, they're keeping gangs, they're keeping polarity natures. There are recorded Los Solitos, KKK people who are homosexuals in their family, like tied to a Oliveri in a Joshua Stryker. Now, see, they're also tied to a Dean Alford with switching his identity, his name, and they're switching names interbranch. So they're using that too with judges pretending they care about that as means to hide their roles with recorded systemic sex offender child abuses roles. Have nothing to do. They need to pretend that people are prejudiced against them personally. Each group has people that are worthless. You know what I'm saying? What we need to have defined are the sequence shifts and how the mandated law was not being let, so no one's rights are let. So no one's safe. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's being. See, if Dr. Martin Luther King had to point out to his demonstrations, to his correlation that were also recorded, he would try to point that out, and they would write other in databases. And they would force it to be a conflict about that there never was. They would pretend he had words he never did. And they would pretend that they believe that they're supposed to believe in the integrity of branches that they know do not have integrity. They are recorded conscious interbranch child sex offenders. Also, there's a Dr. Zeman recorded and confessed by people tied to him. I never had a conversation. Him and other doctors from my town involved with child sex offenders and with courts of various natures criminally involved. Their database illusion stacking. They're doing that with courts preventing people free speech. They're doing that with news attaching people to fake conversations. They're doing that to make people call them names so they can pretend prejudice. You know how I know that? Because when I ask calmly to report sex crime acts, they don't do it. They start fights with me and with other people tied to them, interbranch, intercultural too, especially how they're recorded also with the KKK theme people. I never had a conversation with Joshua Stryker in my life. And the Dean Alford, they're also recorded tied to methods where they attach people that you barely know to their roles, database solution stack, and that was also tied to the untimely death. So there was investigations on that, and they had to hide their roles with other natures of crimes that were juxtaposed with that, and their fact treatments of that. And I locked that into place where they can't change it various ways. So now that they can't respond to me because I caught them intercampuses of the same age and of different ages. So they have the governor also recorded and confessed involved with interbranch actors, with sexual abuses, identity thefts, forced sustained. And that was is with judges also recorded and confessed. I mean, also recorded, yeah, confessed. With confession, they're as good as their courts. Involved with crimes with kids, fake passions, per sequence shifts, for identity theft, crime acts, roles. So we have them going forward with a governor with sex crime acts recorded and roles with fake news, threatening women, torturing women not to say anything. Because a woman down the street too and her kids recorded, divided and conquered per foreign and domestic rackets, police forms. Now she might be undercover too, that's even worse. But there's state police, various numbers of ways criminally involved. There's FBI, criminally involved with the area in many ways, like the Witness Protection Program, recorded and confessed, involved, indirectly, the FBI with that, criminally with those criminal enterprises and houses in my area. Also, other juxtaposed criminal uses of the FBI in my area, reported and confessed. Also, reported and confessed criminality with people tied to a Ian up the street. I don't know his name. There's one off, not just because there's an Ian on Twitter who said he was Ian St. John and he was FBI, but that was his too. See, because a defendant of a former FBI director Robert Luskin was a defendant with co-defendants who were federal criminals who had crime roles and acts and natures with the kids in my classes growing up, and in relationship to them to making sequential confessions and demonstrations of their roles with houses in my area growing up that they hung around with. But I hardly ever, not with me. There were exceptions, but all recorded directly to be criminally exploited because they have crime roles also with policing of not just stores but of drug spots like CVS involved criminally with them. Other, and as their roles with other natures of drug crime. So the Cloel family is also recorded. Also a Rizzo place. When I was coming home from the court, they had the Rizzo truck there, which is also reported and confessed involved with crimes with interbranch police crimes with their cliques through time with kids. I never had a conversation with the Rizzo family in my life. That was recorded confessed by his relatives and by a Kerr family. That they direct fake sides of issues against correlation nature. They make identity. They use court cases. They used those cases in the past to pretend I knew people that I never met. One time I was walking into a park in Wethersfield, and one person went by. I don't know if I think it was in my car. I don't know if it was him or not. They said something real quick and walked by and it was dark. And I don't remember how someone directed me to go that way. And then some other group came up and it was a girl, and she said, "Who was that? Which way did he go?" But she said like I knew what she was talking about. Or I knew what that person said to me, so I said something else. Like, I don't know. See, what they do is they don't let anybody have a response, and they have identity thefts. And they have courts, ERICKNERR, recorded and confessed with sequence shifts, with Connecticut cases, with child sex offenders, with judges switching names, preventing with as crime acts, with tortures, preventing the family members of the youngest kids from reporting recorded sustained child abuses. See, they're also recorded and confessed involved with doctors with narratives with homosexuality used as like pretend to care about that to keep sexual conversations and to keep, sexual harassment for sustained pretended other by pretending they're just talking about that. In other words, keeping the nature sick like that. See, because your homosexuality now you're talking about groups, and you're talking about groups that are being used criminally with the drugs too. You know what I'm saying? You're not talking about individual. Our obligation per color is about how clear rights are clear. Otherwise, you're lying with your physical delusions. You see what I'm saying? You're lying to self and others. That's why they pretend passionately that sequence shifts show that they're not really caring because someone says, you know, faggot or something like that. They boom, they'll block you. Of course, you're going to call sex offenders faggots. You see what I'm saying? But see, but they use Facebook, and they call it the algorithm consciously as means to make mistakes on purpose. See, with this principal sex offender, there's worse tied to just a sentence. There's worse recorded and confessed, tied to his campus, tied to the governor. I asked him on Facebook to fix the fake news. I never had a conversation with him in my life. I never had a conversation with the news of my life. The courts recorded with sequence shifts. Since 2001, before that, people have been making confessions about their roles being coerced by interbranch police, by military police families, by doctors and people associated with courts, with the leaderships of prisons, sexual circles with DCF leaders, roles with, you know, social connections with like car dealerships and stuff like that. The placements on and off campuses with houses tied on and off campuses, housing used for crime method. That's why they have sexual circles tied to the Magdalena. They tricked us there to go there because the other Maggie, there's the one from Covington Street, not the one from they pretended to be the one from up there. the Magdalena, who was the roommate of Elena, recorded and confessed involved, coerced by predators on off campus with evidence reception and with sexual abuses of women. And then with that recorded having been taken to her behavior crime roles and her roles typing, pretend I bought her, and just trying to be being knave, pretending it's woman things like that, but it's not, because those women are recorded being used to hurt other girls and other women intercity. Also recorded and confessed tied to her roles with wrestling, with policing on off campuses, intercampuses throughout the state, worse than interstate. We have other nations that come share policing here with as roles with on off campuses policing, training, criminal justice, undercover people, and stuff like that. All fakes. Like Dylan tied to many confessions and recorded crime rolls of people through my life connected to the people now involved with him criminally, with real estate crimes, child sex offender crimes, sequence shifts, evidence crimes and cases through time, with other retired and standing detectives and police forms in my area. They need to pretend things like caring against prejudice because they're recorded using that with color. There's a black judge from the Britain Superior Court recorded involved with, I don't know if she knew about it, there were sequence shifts that came after and before her and her roles with confessed to recorded database solutions that have falsified police reports from police from multiple towns with an on-campus arrest. Then they make a mistake and then they do it over. So they involve all different agencies, all different towns' police. This is also recorded and confessed with multiple police forms, foreign and domestic, with East Hartford. So Vlad. Drugs, my friend, drugs. Our nations have shared enemy with psychology. Vlad, are you Russian, my friend? See, I like Russia because, I don't like any modern nation. All our modern nations are fake together. So but Russia, they had a hard time too. So we have to understand how we're all victim predators together, our nations, through psychology, recorded with physical delusions that you can't defend in us at the same time. It's nice, it's nice. This world is crazy, Vlad. This world is crazy. They don't let you report. WF is American news, local. It's criminally foreign influence. We have all different kinds of nations, doctors and stuff like that. They have a crime method where you go and they walk by you because they force you in for a mental evaluation because they want to hide from a police report. And then they just forge names and pretend they had conversations with you. This is recorded. And that's also with them recorded. I caught them recorded with crimes with a principal sex offender, with others worse, forcing him to sustain with the courts. With telling the news to steal our voice, the fake words. Our nation is sick, America. Vlad, they lied to President Obama. That's why there's still poverty standing, because we have invested what they call poverty. It's worse than poverty. What they pretend is black and white homosexuality or not. All they're doing is keeping correlation nature, which is a trinity, which is simultaneous finite value, active body of value, progression value at the same time. Keeping that fake sides defended, then you defend that afterwards because you take those sides in courts, cases. Those courts and their police out of courts and rules with crimes with areas, they're forcing that to be the effect, to take place, to have people, they're locking people into needs, to stay natures needing to progressively value their lives from the past. And that's reliant on as a means for them preventing us from doing anything from other but trying to get justice through courts, which are we're not letting us report their crime rolls first. Because they have crime rolls ulterior juxtaposed crime interests and actors. See, they're hiding behind what they're keeping naive with the areas because they were raised by a breaching organized crime method every modern nation intercampuses. Campus Marcius is an ancient thing that was revealed by ancient Campus Marcius of Republic for which we stand, that was revealed by nations together before their criminal re-engineering. Once that criminal, the devil knew, once they defended people to roles with identities of Campus Marcius, criminally re-engineered, of a Republic criminally re-engineered, you can't defend that and us at the same time. They knew that would perpetually cause negative value nature progressions as nature in demonstration of its loss of the value of campus proper as a correlation nature that knows how to cause evolution by maintaining what is all finite positive onto itself, active body values, also progressive positive onto itself. See, they set us up into our founders forced fact-cheating nature slavery since before they were born. Introduction sciences entrenched here forced their slavery. No one could talk about building anything other than tactically denatured relationship to nature that suburbs now are. Infrastructure home styles set up, designed before our founders' births, before we had cars. They knew that once they locked everyone into the pathology of a tactically denatured relationship to nature, put all the water underground and or denatured and shallow, it will cause negative value nature progressions perpetually that they could keep maintained with as branches, maintained as measured tools, all live progression cover up natures. Kings even not understanding. England was extorted as the face of what was in New England with slavery before our founders' births. It was other nations too, with the fake suit and tie nation and counters to it that don't understand because they lost the Campus Marcius that was criminally re-engineered inter-sciences space maintained this, on-off campus maintained. Then the branches realized the live progression cover up roles, nature's needs. Then again, already juxtaposed, all kind of overt criminal enterprises, legalized criminal. You can't legalize criminal enterprises. So every modern nation is lifted as victim predator, pseudo positive, say knocking communism or knocking capitalism, isms, because they have the Constitution, fake sides, fake opinion natures, not led demonstrated through lifetimes. So Russia, America are with crime rolls, with psychology, with child offenders, with courts and cases already through time, various natures of courts, recorded in their family members, maintain criminally foreign influence, on and off campuses roles with what is also not just private and regular campuses, the training of people too young, and through people already originally criminally foreign influence, sick, into branch training, like a Dillon family, recorded and confess also with military corruption and various natures of it. Fakes. I don't know his son's name. Recorded and confess involved also with the town offices. Criminally. They have the doctors and like nurses and investigators and fire departments juxtaposed with Russians. Also with his Justin Klavinskis, KKK themed, Confederate flag themed database. I'm telling you, this is what happened. The devil is about. Once they have a sequence, then they have interbranch. They have a O'Brien family. I've been a few times when I was young. They live on my street. Never had a class with them. They make confessions, demonstrations of their roles with evidence reception bodies. Interbranch and foreign collusion and inclusion. They're hiding that with overt criminal enterprises. A criminal enterprise, I'm not a lawyer, I plead for not criminal. Criminal enterprise like a internation gang. When they talk about sanctions with countries and stuff like that, they're talking about offensive, huge monetary penalties because of time being used by criminal and seditious nature. So this is why we have criminal and seditious nature legalized, but they're all lifted for a crime method that is keeping states and areas in collusion. This is keeping, like they had a Debbie Gold, pretend passions, as it means to pretend I did something to her, but that I never did. In other words, as a sequence shift, to start a fight, then to get a reaction, and to have the teacher make a reaction to me because I said something bad, whatever I said. If they wrote other in the database, you can be assured. They gave me a letter to sign when I was a kid. I put a stamp on it with my father's name on it. I stamped it. And then no one ever asked me about it. That was used by, that was exploited by Aiello family, recorded and confessed involved with interbranch crimes, with judges' families, also interstate and worse. Like a Gallucci, Johnny Duke, and his family member roles with CCSU education and with the sex offenders campus and police families and doctors with drugs with the kids, prescription drug crimes and overt drug crimes, and their roles crimes with evidence reception bodies and kids in my area through time. And the ones I know of, you know, they need to play fact cheating nature tricks. They can't respond in writing now because the ones I know of but not the names of, I need to use now because they're recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with crimes with foreign and domestic police in my area, police forums, state police, FBI. The former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, was former standing chairperson on the FBI. More sophisticated than the creep with the election crime rules. You know, recorded and confessed. And they'll play a fact cheating nature's crime. They say, well, it's not a crime until it's charged. You know, or you're not a lawyer. What do you know it's a crime? How are we supposed to know to vote? He came in on the last second. No, I'm not making opinion. I'm talking about sequence shifts. There are sequence shifts that show orchestrated collusion. Collusion is interconnected. But see, it's not my opinion. Opinions are recorded being used to prevent crime acts like sequence shifts and like identity theft crime acts. Fake news. When President Trump says fake news, that's because Russians and Americans are in collusion, not hating each other as collusion, because they're keeping the exploitations roles needing to exploit fake unities there and here, fake science here and there, recorded criminally foreign influenced zoning laws and pathology of infrastructure since before our nation's founders, forced with their forced fact cheating nature slavery. Mao Zedong didn't have free speech. Mao Zedong was in the same database illusion trap. Slavery was here. Still criminally foreign influence, database illusion, stacking, criminally foreign influenced, sub rosa, line progression cover up natures. Our founders left us to pull science out from opinion nature that are dishonest, preventing sequence shifts recorded. The police are recorded pretending things are recorded with Amenda's family. Also recorded and confessed by the others involved, other nations of like with criminal justice, policing on off campuses, drug clicks, identity theft clicks, identity switching clicks. See, so it's not my opinion that things are connected. They're in collusion through recorded fake news, attaching me and others to fake conversations. They won't correct that fake news too. That's recorded connect. They did that since before, when the principal sex offender reportedly confessed and recorded, proven. They were sustaining that then, and they're still sustaining it because they don't want to get the judges in trouble. Because the judges were pretending passions and stuff like that because they have sequence shifts to hide. They have crime rolls with their cliques and family members with the areas intercampus already, with evidence reception bodies. And that was just being used to maintain fake sides there here. Like criminal justice with Puerto Rico and their training of undercovers and stuff like that. And with criminal, they shared here and there and here with crimes with prison cliques, undercovers with areas, with judges, with drug cliques, sex offender cliques with their families. All different natures of it. I'm not saying their motivations were sex. I mean, I don't believe anyone's motivation would be to have sex with a kid, unless it was like some crazy person who was raised isolated. You know what I'm saying? I believe that they're also recorded and confessed in collusion with their criminals and with undercovers with these places. And that's used as a fact treatment nature trick to pretend you're supposed to listen to mandate telling them to hide undercover positions. See, but that's being used as to hide mandate where undercover positions are being used to further child abuse, further criminal foreign influenced campuses and uses of them on and off campuses. And per what keeps then needed lie progression cover up natures, then needed sequence shifting acts with in fact mistreatments formal later, then valued more and more by them, needed hid. And then they can't do anything formal. So they're raising formal interbranch and private police forms in conjunction with that in military through federal crime acts and roles that they need to hide. And it has a sophistication to do it because it was recorded inclusion connected. We have physical delusions with psychology through ages. We have their roles with slavery, recorded with our agencies incapable of countering it because their role is inclusion against presidents. Comey was inclusion with the president. More sophisticated than before that, and as the value of that, Robert Luskin was inclusion with that with recorded local crimes with sex offenders tied cliques to his federal criminals tied to him and to fake news tied to them. So they're sequence shifting by pretending and investing themselves to then need to defend fact treatments per treatments of Comey, where and how they're also needing to hide their fake news roles, preventing crime acts with actors tied to Robert Luskin, former director, standing chairperson of the FBI, defendant Luskin, and his co-defendants recorded and confessed involved with crimes with interbranch police on off CCSU and other campuses in conjunction with this on off Trinity College campus. And that has conjunctions to Megyn Kelly, who was then the presenter of the election too, with Russian ties through through Trinity College. On and off campuses maintained foreign and domestic crime acts used to maintain collusion because they know They're going to have other investigators in natures of their own agencies treat what they keep having treated wrong to keep it defended later as fact-cheating roles. And then that's valued more and more. That's the breaching method there, here, and everywhere. Every modern nation lost to this. Fake sides. You will rise. You trial tribes be trial tribes. We win right here. See, I'm not. See, they're trying to. I'm trying to talk about crime acts, sequence shifts, sequence shift proven in the Ninth Circuit, tied to recorded sequence shifts in Connecticut cases, also used to hide and enforce sustained sex crime acts with cases in collusion with a principal sex offender proven since before that, and still with further with the campuses, intercampuses. There's a campus and businesses next to it on Franklin Avenue, also recorded and confessed with the rest of the CCSU. Police forms and their families in intercity recorded and confessed, threatening and torturing us not to report their crime acts and uses of kids. They have gangs on and off campus, inter-mosque and inter-religious crimes. See, they're trying to pretend about, now what are they going to do? They need to all share together, pretend sensibilities as victim predators, fake prejudice. They have to pretend that they're prejudiced against, because they can't listen to the Quran. They can't listen to the Old Testament truth, which is about science, which is about the criminal engineering of the campus Marseilles. It's about alpha and omega, polarity nature in relationship to the nature that polarity nature is of, which is nature's relationship to itself as that body that they are of together. So male and female is about the same exact thing. How we all come from a mother, and how we all need a father and have a father to have life is in demonstration of the same thing. That the also species body beyond our control, bonded as a bonds of value to us, progressively is, which is our nature's clear body of value, the relationship to itself. We are a quality of diffusion as a clear body of identity coming through us. That was his valued by what we are to get. In other words, we have the ability to have conversations, and to make distinctions, and to control our relationship to the nature of positive. So we can see the energy, so that will stay the energy as evolution here, or as energy forced away from here as negative value nature progression, leap of ideas. In other words, the value of the identity of space not only already was, but it's a value progression, and will only gain positive value nature. See, Earth is closer to the inherent nature of value of the also active and progressive complete identity of nature. That is the identity of space. It's a trinity value / value nature relationship to itself. Okay, you too, Vlad. I'm going on to it. What is it? Hour 38. I talked too long. I appreciate you. The answer is we have to see identity as a clear body of value. That's what the ancients knew. So they're forcing each suit and tie nation and counter to it distinctly, but also non-distinctly, to and as what can only stay with what's fluent through us. They have physical delusions regarding what's positive by markets that are recorded not free. More important than voting is being real. You see, they're not real. They don't care about anything. They're evil. Our branches. They're here everywhere. When they say America's different, the only difference between America is that we fell last to this. So our distinction is prevented there and here by our own and by other nations. And that's happening there, here too. In other words, because we have shared policing, within as the value of shared agreements that you can't defend, and us at the same time. How it was is exploiting each age of fact-cheating nature, intercampuses. That's it, man. I see. That's why we have to report the fake news, and we have to force the sequence shift, because the sequence shifts, they show fake passions across the board of nations. The sequence shifts. See, FBI Director Luskin, his crime rolls are also recorded and confessed with people tied to houses in my area with sex offenders. Since before I tried to report the principal sex offender, they arrested me put me in prison with no right to talk after they were already recorded and involved with that, and with lies, and as roles forcing that sustained when the guy was still there, and furthermore with the campuses, because they have doctors with it. We have doctors who are police, foreign, domestic, recorded and confessed and demonstrated behind interreligious crime roles with the sex offenders not let reported. With the overt child sex offenders with roles with other worse first and also. See, so they're hiding that from the understanding of kings and of the popes, because they have psychology with Italy, and here with Italian and other nations, doctors and their family members with police, and overt criminal enterprises in collusion. Sequentially, there was recorded orchestrated collusion. The only reason we don't realize this is because they're recorded pretending things are recorded, and then they're using that to prevent people a response in writing, and by forcing fake news simultaneously to cover up their lie progressions, because the courts were with drug clicks, evidence fabrication natures, that if you see them on paper even, they can't even respond. They're worse than criminally incompetent for my town. State judicial branch offices recorded and confessed involved with crimes with investigators and judges with a Faenza family. Also recorded and confessed involved with crimes with body stop dumping spot of Billy Grasso. Police forms associated with forensics cases through time. They're all backed up. This is the method. More than 99% of the 99% of the crimes were maintained, orchestrated, engineered together for another nature of organized crime method that wasn't being charged or even discerned with colonization. And that's still today. That streams in courts are being caused by what they are semi-as criminally, and needing to hide it, needing to hide their own lying, progression, corrupt natures, needing to pretend voting means things that it doesn't, needing to prevent, they have sequence shifts always. The sequence shifts are with passions always. When someone says they believe voting means what it doesn't, note the sequence shifts recorded inside that in relationship to the recorded fake news and the exploitations of it. Because then they're pretending they have morality. They know they don't have morality. It's right, induce the process. And we can win, because each modern nation the species bond is a value. The devil knew it was going to be perpetually extorted to rule, but to have to stay extorted itself. We have to admit forgiveness with our fact treatment nature, because our branches, overt criminal enterprises, in other nations juxtaposed here and there, where with crime methods recorded and crime roles, and indifferent to it, and blaming the causes of it, their causes of negative value nature progressions and acts on others on selves, because they don't know how else to do it, because the campuses are criminally foreign influenced. Until we have nature's campus Marcius that was revealed before criminal foreign influences, and by and as the value of the bond to our species in states and areas and nation sciences simultaneously, we don't have evolution. We have that de-evolution demonstrated. Negative value nature progressions, lethal IDs. It will not stop until nature has its value nature relationship to itself rehealed as the value nature relationship of the campus Marcius before its criminal reengineering. And so, in conclusion, we shop at thecampusmarcius.com. Spelled with a C, not a T. TheCampusMarcius.com. Thank you. Come again, fellows. Romania, we love you. America loves you. And all people, we don't hate anybody. But each group that defends a group is wrong. And it's recorded. They're very sickly wrong. Good night, y'all. I'll leave it there with you. Thanks. Good night, Vlad.